Hello friends, in Negotiable Instruments Act, the next aspect is types of instruments. Apart from the promissory note, bill of exchange, check, these three are main important classification. Let's have a look on different types of instruments based on their nature. There are various types of instruments mentioned in this act as follows. Number one, inland instrument. Inland instrument. A promissory note, bill of exchange or check. A promissory note, bill of exchange or check drawn or made in India and made payable in or drawn upon any person resident in India shall be deemed to be an inland instrument. When an instrument is said to be inland instrument, that instrument must be drawn or made and payable in or drawn upon any person resident in India. And coming to the next one, foreign instrument. So foreign instrument means a promissory note, bill of exchange or check not drawn, made or made payable in India. That means if the promissory note or bill of exchange or check which was drawn in abroad or payable at abroad shall be deemed to be a foreign instrument. Ambiguous instrument. Ambiguity means confusion. Where an instrument may be construed either as a promissory note or bill of exchange, the holder may treat it at his election, treat it as either, and the instrument shall be thenceforward treated accordingly. And when you observe that instrument, you cannot decide whether it's a promissory note or bill of exchange. Generally, in promissory note, you can observe an unconditional undertaking. But in the case of bill of exchange, unconditional order. But in the case of ambiguous instrument, you can observe both unconditional undertaking and unconditional order. If that kind of instrument was holding by you, that you are said to be a holder, you have an option. You can treat that instrument either as a promissory note or bill of exchange. So ambiguous means confusion. So ambiguous instrument, you can treat this instrument either as a promissory note or bill of exchange. And instruments payable on demand. Instruments payable on demand. A promissory note or bill of exchange in which no time for payment is specified. In promissory note, they have not mentioned the time. Let's take an example. If the maker has mentioned, I will return this amount within 3 months or after 3 months. That means he was mentioned the time for payment. If that person have not mentioned the time for payment, this promissory note is always payable on demand. That means maker should pay the amount and payable on demand by the payee. And bill of exchange, the same thing. When the bill of exchange have not mentioned the time, pay after 3 months, pay after 4 months. The same has not mentioned in the bill of exchange. Now the bill of exchange is payable on demand. In the promissory note or bill of exchange which no time for payment is specified, then these two instruments are said to be instruments payable on demand. And generally we will get a doubt regarding check. What about the check? Check is always payable on demand. Check is always payable on demand. they won't mention the time. And the last one, inchoate stamped instruments. Inchoate means incomplete instrument, and this one is very important. Inchoate stamped instruments, incomplete stamped instruments, where one person signs and delivers to another a paper stamped in accordance with the law relating to negotiable instruments for the time being in force in India, and either wholly blank or having written thereon an incomplete negotiable instrument. He thereby gives prima facie authority to the holder thereof to make or complete, as the case may be, upon it a negotiable instrument for any amount specified therein and not exceeding the amount covered by the stamp. The person so signing shall be liable upon such instrument in the capacity in which he signed the same to any holder in due course for such amount, provided that no person other than a holder in due course shall recover from the person delivering the instrument anything in excess of the amount intended by him to be paid thereunder. Let's have a look on inchoate stamped instruments. So here inchoate stamped instruments means bill of exchange which was properly stamped and signed by the drawer. Why this instrument was called as an inchoate, incomplete instrument? Since drawer have not mentioned the amount. He filled all the columns except the amount. Since he was intended to give to the payee, let him fill the amount. Let's take an example. Drawer has given a bill of exchange which was inchoate, that means incomplete stamped instrument, to pay, and payee can write any amount which is covered under the stamp, number one. Number two, he can write amount which was intended by the drawer, that means drawer at the time of giving the inchoate stamped instrument, he will say that I will inform later. You can fill up the amount column and you can submit the same to the drawer. Meanwhile, if payee transferred, that means endorsed this instrument to holder in due course. I hope you remember holder in due course. Holder in due course is a person who receives the instrument for consideration before its maturity and in good faith. If the same inchoate stamped instrument was delivered to the holder in due course, he can fill up any amount subject to the maximum limitation of stamp value. If the instrument was not delivered to the holder in due course, payee can write the amount, whatever the amount which was intended by the drawer, that's all. But when the instrument was in the hands of holder in due course, he can write anything, any amount, but subject to the maximum limitation of the stamp, and he can submit the same before the drawee. If the drawee has not paid if the drawee was not honored that instrument, now holder in due course can approach the drawer. So these are all types of instruments. In next class we will see maturity of the instruments. So if you like this video, like, share and don't forget to subscribe. See you friends.